I'm Ryan from the Burnout Show, and in this video, we're going to show you how to install a new set of cylinder heads onto your Chevy 350. At this point, we've got a whole series on the channel about rebuilding a Chevy 350, so if you need any help with anything else for this engine, there will be a link to the playlist where you can find all of those videos up in the top right corner. So we actually recorded this video while we were still filming episode 6 of Burnout. In that episode, we finished rebuilding this 350, slapped it back in the 76 Camaro that we took it out of, and then raced that 76 Camaro against a 2018 Camaro on an autocross at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. That episode is awesome. If you haven't seen that yet, again, there's going to be a link in the top right corner. You can go check that out after this video. But basically, this video is going to be a little bit different than most of the rest of our engine rebuild tutorial videos, since we recorded it during the filming of that episode. So the first thing you're going to want to do when going to install your new cylinder heads or installing old cylinder heads is going to be cleaning the surface of the block where the heads sit. If they're particularly dirty, you can grab like a paint scraper and really scrape off all the gunk and maybe some old gasket pieces or something, whatever's on there. Scrape all that off. If it's not too bad, just grab a good clean rag and some brake clean and wipe that down. Make sure that's totally clean before you're ready to move on. After that, your next step is going to be tapping the bolt threads on the block. Now, this step might not seem super important, but especially if you are working on an older engine like mine, those bolt threads are not clean at all. And so really you want to clean those out with a tap so that when you're bolting the cylinder head onto the engine, the bolts will thread in much easier and they will torque down properly when you lock them down with a torque wrench later. So very important that you tap all these bolt holes, and this really can take a while, especially if your engine, like I said, is older like mine. We really had to put some work into tapping these holes. But once you've got all those threads cleaned and the surface of the block cleaned, you can grab your head gasket and put that on. Now, there will be two little notches basically on the gasket and two pins on the surface of the head. You want to make sure that those are lined up, and you'll have to really push that on there to get that to seat properly. But this obviously is a very simple step. The only thing you really need to make sure is that you put the stripe side of your gasket facing up. Now, if your gasket doesn't have stripes on one of the sides, there is another way to tell which side is the top and which side is the bottom. On your head gasket, there should be a metal ring around each of the cylinder holes. On the top side of the gasket, the metal rings won't connect directly. On the bottom side, however, they will connect and become one piece of metal. After you've got the gasket on the block, it's time to grab your cylinder head and place it up top. Once again, those notches are going to come into play here, where there's going to be two holes on both ends of the cylinder head itself and the two pins on the block, and you just have to make sure that you line those up so that the head sits properly on the engine block.
So there's a lot of conflicting opinions on this. A lot of people say that you should use a thread sealant, basically like a liquid Teflon tape, on your head bolts, at least for the Chevy 350, because these bolts actually go down into the water jacket. So a lot of people say that you need to use the thread sealant on it so that it doesn't leak any water. However, a lot of people also say that you really don't need to, and you can just put oil on the threads so that it torques down better, and then that gives you enough of a seal.
To be honest, I still don't know which of these methods is better, or if the oil method even works at all to seal out the coolant, but I decided to use the liquid Teflon tape to make sure that there wouldn't be any coolant leaks inside my engine. So you can start threading in all of your bolts, putting some liquid Teflon tape, or if you decide to go the oil route, putting some oil on the threads and just threading them in by hand at first. Now, once you do have all of your bolts threaded in, it is time to get your torque wrench. And don't just start torquing the bolts down in whatever order you want. There is a specific order that you need to torque down the bolts in to make sure that everything seals properly on the head gasket. So I'll throw up a diagram on the screen right now that'll tell you the order, the specific order of which you need to torque the head bolts down. Now, the exact torque setting can vary depending on year and varies a bunch depending on your engine. My engine calls for about 70 foot-pounds on all of the head bolts, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Like I said, it might vary slightly for yours. You'll want to double check that online, or if you have a rebuild book or something. But make sure you get the right torque setting. Now, I will actually go around all of the bolts twice to make sure that they are all torqued evenly and correctly. And that's all there is to it. Now you're ready to go ahead and repeat those steps to install the other cylinder head. But like I said, that's pretty much it. The next step would be installing the push rods and rocker arms and setting the valve lash, but I'm not going to go into that in this video. If you want to see another video about that specifically, let me know down in the comments and I'll see what I can do, and maybe we'll make a video about that. But that's going to be it for this video. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, make sure you hit the like button and definitely subscribe, because we have a ton of great content coming out in the future and you won't want to miss it. Leave a comment down below if you want to see other more specific engine tutorial videos. And that's going to be it for this one. So thank you for watching, and I hope this helped.